All right. Well, I hand this to you. All right. Now sinking in 3, 2, 1, sink. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast. This is going to be a very special episode for the both of us. We have some big announcements coming for the channel. But for this episode, we are going to look back on the year, looking back on the channel as a whole. Some highlights, some good, some bad. Because we like to take time to look at our channel as we grow through each video that we've done, looking at all our videos, because there's so much content that we put out for you guys. It's nice to take a break and look back at what we've done, because sometimes we get lost in content creation. But without further ado, Akram, give us your thoughts, man.
Yeah, it's difficult content creation, but it's also a beautiful thing, creating art, and especially when you can do it with another person and you create memories through that struggle. You're going through the same thing, and there's something, if you're in content creation, it's a very difficult thing to do, and you experience a lot. We've experienced screenings, filming things in person, taking trips, experiencing a lot of these wonderful projects over time, and really learning through our process, technical wise, and then also just grammar, things like that. And branding, everything. You really don't notice when you watch these videos, but there's so much work and heart and so much of that goes into these channels. And so the same thing for us. I had a wonderful time just starting it out with you, and yeah, I mean, even this season, this is our season 5. I don't know if you guys know that. Our season 5 was
The
huge.
longest season. Yeah.
Yes, with over, I think, close to 200 videos. We've done a lot. And let me tell you, we had a plethora of variety, different types of videos, and it's really great to look back on that. Yeah.
It sure was, and I agree. And I, thank you, man. I appreciate, when I first asked you and come on as my co-host, I really meant it, because I knew you were the guy for it, and it really showed, through our progress. And when you're kind of independent in this kind of field, it's you learn a lot of things. Obviously we're not professional, but we're professional at the same time.
Yeah.
You kind of had to learn things on your own and push yourself as a content creator. But that really, it's like roughening a stone. You find a gem at the core of it. So I think that's the beauty of our podcast, is even though it's run by just two nerds, I think there's a craft that comes out of it, because we have to be on the same level as all these other content creators and huge YouTube names. But of course, comes with drawbacks. Obviously, we're two normal people. We have schedules, we have jobs. A lot of people, when you see somebody on the internet, you think they're just like this big name, right? Because they have a channel and they have a lot of cool videos out. But at the behind the screen, we're real people, and that's gonna affect our podcast. We'll talk about later, but we're very human, and we try to be as humble as possible, but we also love what we do. And
Exactly.
I think it really shows in every video that we put out, whether good or bad, whether low views or high views. I really love every video that we put out because I think it's like Akram said, it's like an art form,
And that remains consistent. It's the heart that's behind it. So, as an artist, you want people to see your work, but as two friends too, it's interesting because as two friends, you don't really need to let other people hear your conversation. So there's an intimacy, but there's also a showmanship to I'm thinking about showmanship, kind of like Django Unchained.
Panache.
Yeah, there's something about it. So it's an interesting clash, but I think that's why it's entertainment. It's when the unusual is being presented in a form for everyone to see. And I learned so much. I did come from a background of learning how to edit and stuff, and Dylan comes from a background of sex work. Dylan came from a background of doing,
graphic design.
Dylan,
that's how you know we're good friends.
But you learn a lot more when you're doing something like this, because to tackle these things is really difficult. And especially for two people, it takes a lot of communication, and you form a bond that not many people can do in the content creation world. I talked about the last video that there's opportunity meets luck, and this was perfect timing. Opportunity meets luck. Everything came together really well. And so if some of you are watching this and you want to dabble in the dark arts of content creation, I'd recommend, of course, you could look at your other creators, but if you do want to have a co-host, try to find your co-host as wonderful as Dylan is, because I definitely received a lot of help, especially nagging a lot of times. That really helped for me to,
I always say we're like Johnny and Amber.
Exactly. I tried to let the fumes go. And it really does help. It helps at the end of the day.
And even if you are planning to do something like this on your own without a co-host, just don't do it alone. Find somebody, that can really push you or help you, It's not easy, especially because, a lot of times you think you're going to make it big. Maybe you're planning to do this for profit. We don't make a cent off these videos. Sure as hell. That's how you know we're passionate about it.
Yeah.
Because we don't make a dime off these videos as good as they are. Right, yeah. So if you're going into this field, I definitely say you have to have the drive, the commitment, the heart, and definitely the passion, because this is a very taxing, artwork or art field, and it takes a lot of hours out of your day, and you're going to have to cut back on a lot of stuff. God knows we did. But at the end of the day, when you look back and say how much you produce, and when you have almost, 533 videos out, it's really worth something looking back at it.
Mm-hmm. And I am really fortunate too, because this channel started around, 2021, right?
Mm.
But for us, really, this channel started since our high school days. And we were doing the same thing we did in high school that we're doing now in some form or another. And I'm just really fortunate that, that came to be. It just felt natural. And I'd say cater towards what you're really passionate about and what you really love. But also, again, when you find the opportunity to meet someone that you could partner with, because, at the end of the day, we have this podcast platform and it's all about discussion. And sometimes it's kind of weird to just talk by yourself. So it's a really fortunate thing I found through the whole process,
Yeah, for sure. It's not easy. And thank God we have a great chemistry on set and offset. I say that like we have a studio or some shit.
It's like we're gonna leave and smoke a cigarette.
Right. Like I'm gonna go out like Akram's door and see like Tom Cruise or some shit.
Right, yeah. Offset like to take a piss in my bathroom and leave.
Well, let me ask you, Akram.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this year has been really challenging in terms of our, our process and how we deliver content. So what were the biggest challenges for you?
Just really, keeping the ball rolling. There's a lot of setbacks technically with technical problems. That's always like we always bring that up, but that is a thing. And then really, it's timing. It's trying to fit all these different types of videos you want to have, and it isn't easy to do. Sometimes it feels like it's just too much to handle. And then so when you have that coupled with these ambitious ideas you have, and then also when you do these ideas, sometimes they don't get the most views. And it's, you still at the end of the day want to drop videos that'll progress your channel subscribers, get you views, and then at the end of the day, hopefully make money, right?
Get used to pain.
Yeah.
We'll say, if you're gonna do
Pain
this,
is old friend. Yeah, that was an absolute huge challenge. I mean, again, when I was editing the movie, that took practically a month and a half, and then there was so much shit being involved just to do that, and then plus we had to keep the channel going, so we had to do other reviews and edit, and it was really difficult. So there were a lot of hard moments, but at the same time too, I think when you go to our channel and you click through our videos, you can see that it was worth it at the end of the day. It feels professional. It feels like a professional product. Yeah, what about you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, timing definitely, scheduling definitely is a big one, because there's only so many hours in the day, and especially with this type of content, it's very time sensitive, so you have to put things out as early as possible if you want to compete with these larger channels and get the kind of traction that you want. And you have to balance your schoolwork and your job life and just having a social life. That's one thing we've had to sacrifice a lot just for the sake of staying afloat. And then a lot of times it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. Just putting in the hours, just watching stuff too, it takes like a long time, and just waiting for stuff to come out, and it's very taxing, like I said. But I think overall, I think we overcame those challenges. Sometimes technical challenges, well, like Akram mentioned, there's some things that you can only have so much control over. So I think once you can overcome those and find a solution to, I always say there's always a solution to something, even if it is a compromise. There's always a solution to something.
True.
Like life finds a way.
Yeah.
But no, I'm serious, it does. And if you can find an outlet or a solution to something, I think you can do pretty much, you have the freedom to do whatever you want to.
Yeah, no, absolutely, that's completely true, absolutely. And and again, if it doesn't sometimes work out, keep your options open. I think a lot of people, they give advice and they don't really talk about the plan B. Will Smith famously said that don't have a plan B, have a plan A. But if you really,
well, that's why he got slapped.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't have a plan B after this.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't have a plan B, and that's the thing, exactly. Like, have a plan B, and plan Bs could come in different forms. And so plan Bs,
a pill,
a pill. It could be, if you're working on one medium, you could find a way to transform it into something new and try to keep going. It could be many different things, a plan B. Just be creative, because this world really lacks it these days, and everything is just for show and not genuine enough. And I don't appreciate that. But I'm glad that, and again, it kind of seems like we're tooting our own horn, but hearing from other people criticism of us, thankfully, there's not one comment that I've seen, knock on wood, that really they all talked about, you guys talk about the topic itself, and it just shows that it reflects to me like, oh, okay, we're both passionate about what we're talking about, and the other people they're talking about, they're not saying like, oh, you guys are pieces of shit, you're low lives, whatever. They're all, or you guys did this wrong.
Not all of them.
Not all of them. But for the most part, it's I'm very pleased with how we're received so far. Again, it's difficult sometimes. There are a lot of videos that don't get the views that I would have hoped they got, but at the end of the day, the videos that did count did get the views, and so it's like, okay, that's wonderful.
And that's something you kind of have to balance in your mind. You have to take the good with the bad. Sometimes there's going to be bad days, and there's going to be really good days, and then sometimes you're going to have to face some harsh criticisms. But I think that only strengthens your resolve. And don't be afraid to change either. Don't be set in one way, because the industry is always evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So because when you look at our season 1 stuff to you see now, you see like things drastically changed over time just to not just survive but thrive.
Exactly. No, absolutely great points. And yeah, I mean, we talked before in 2022 reflections about how the channel got started. We came into this with a really professional mindset. We came into this with a goal in mind. How do we want to brand ourselves? How do we want to show that we're passionate about things? I remember going over the backgrounds, how it should be, just the aspect ratio, the talking head squares, how it should look, and then the intro. Like all this stuff comes in.
The audio is the most
The
important.
audio.
If you're gonna do a podcast, you have to have good audio, and that's something Akram tries to perfect in every video.
Yeah, I always try to perfect it. It's not easy. I'm not a sound engineer at the end of the day. I just edit videos, and so it's not as easy as someone would think. So, just picking up the craft and trying to do something with it is always exciting, but it's daunting, and I think that's not too people notice that. And I gained such an appreciation for other content creators, and now I understand truly like what they're going through, and it's no wonder that some of them are successful.
Yeah, let's talk more about that. Like, what have you really learned during the course of this channel?
I learned technology and shit. Shit, more problems at the end of the day. I learned how to edit differently than what I was taught. I learned how to actually design while editing, was really interesting. I learned different technical aspects like editing audio, as we mentioned before. I also learned some things that you taught me, which was placement of logos, type, anything like that. I took that into consideration, including certain fonts, font works, and stuff like that. I never knew that there's this whole world behind typography. It's really interesting, and it's worth studying. So I learned all that type of stuff.
Shit, I hope you learned something after.
Yeah, I know. Well, I also learned too vocabulary, speaking. Sometimes people have problems with speaking in front of a camera. It gets getting used to. So I tried my best to adapt. I mean, I went to acting school before, but actually doing this, and at least you have plenty of videos to like get used to it over time. And just staying with your topic. And as you see our older videos compared to our new videos, we get straight to it. And as the result is, a lot of the videos for the reviews are shorter sometimes. And it's just because we know what we're going to say, we get to it. And then also, it's chemistry as well that works well. What did you learn?
I learned you're fake because you ate pork that one time.
Oh, for that movie? God forgive me.
Yeah. Disowned.
Yeah, that was a shame. Damn it. Desperate times.
No, but I also learned a great deal into this podcast. Like, you definitely taught me a lot of things, not just technically, but also just like philosophically also. And yeah, definitely, speaking, that's the big thing is like when you come into this type of medium, it's like you have to project, you have to play a character.
Yeah.
Almost you have to break out of the person that you normally are, and that's something I face challenges with in season 1. And yeah, coming up with ideas is also a hard thing, and coming up with how do you keep a conversation going but also making it feel natural. I think that's a big challenge for a lot of not just podcasts, but I think like public faces or influencers. I think people really need to think about their content and then how they're portraying that on screen, but also making it feel appropriate, but also not just appropriate, but I also feel like you have to be controversial in a way. And that's one thing that we try to be. Like, we try to be non-biased, but we also try to make points that we think are valid, because I think at the end of the day, if you're not controversial, nobody will listen to you. I solidly believe that, because if you notice what makes the media at the end of the day, it's the topics that nobody wants to discuss, right? Because that's what people listen to. And it's sad because there are a lot of creators like us, who have a lot of great points and have a lot of great topics, but I think they're overshadowed by a lot of things that feel artificial in a way. So you kind of have to balance that out. You have to kind of play the role of a showman with showmanship. Panache. But at the end of the day, you should also kind of respect yourself enough to have opinion that you actually believe in. and not just like saying it for the sake of trends. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah. It's hard to say be yourself. I think you should come in with your personality, but it also has to be a little dramatized or exaggerated, depending on what you're doing. If it's a talking format, then probably get a little more excited. But if it's legitimately a different type of video altogether, albeit a lore type of video on any topic or anything like that, that's where your creativity really comes into place. Well, your creativity comes into place too while you're speaking, because you have different philosophies that you want to uncover with the person you're talking to, and really try to figure out where it fits in. So yeah, all in all, I think we learned a lot, and I think the channel since its conception has grown, and I'm glad to have a lot of you guys here. Welcome to the family, and you guys mean a lot to us, and I hope that you guys enjoyed our content, and also for future content as well. Yeah.
Is there anything you think, looking back at the channel, that you wish we had improved on, or
that's
maybe fixed, or things that could still be improved?
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
It's hard to self-criticize sometimes.
Yeah, well, we had a meeting once, and we were like trying to figure out what's going on, because sometimes our videos, we're always complaining about that. Our videos not getting that many views and stuff like that. And I really am happy with how the channel is. Back then, around season 3, I think it had more issues, because we were really trying to figure out, okay, how is the discussion going to be broken down? It's a review. Should we actually say back to the people the story? And I felt like that was a little monotonous. Like, why? There was stuff like that. Dylan likes to say like a lot. And I like to say oh. So those are some issues. I think also, the scheduling was difficult sometimes. It really was, because the editing sometimes can take up to 1 hour to 3 hours for one video. I mean, and that mostly in part because of rendering, but also, sometimes we cover 3 videos in a day. We spread them out, or we drop them all in the same day. Binge watching a whole show. These were issues that I've encountered, but they aren't something that you can really improve on. If you were to improve it, then the channel would restructure in a way. That's the only way that I could see it improve, or unless you get access or certain privileges. That's really about it. But for the most part, I am proud of a lot of the stuff, and a lot of the visuals that we have there, and from both of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, how about you?
Yeah, for sure. No, I don't have too much to say. I think you hit most of the marks. I kind of wish we did have more guests appear.
Yeah, that's
maybe
true.
Even smaller content creators. Now that I think about it, I think it would have been nice to have different perspectives on a lot of things. Especially there's so many, creators out there that are doing what we're doing. So I think I would have liked to hear some different opinions. But I think for the most part, I think the conversations were pretty natural. I think they were pretty good. I think we had a lot of great topics that we talked about, and even though we have the same opinion, sometimes we could go back and forth too. Yeah. Maybe that's another thing why people maybe didn't stay, because they like to hear different opinions. Sometimes when you have like this too much of the same opinion, it can feel kind of like dry. But for the most part, I think, like, as far as production, I think we had a good flow. I think we knew what we wanted. We got it done. We set goals for ourselves. Scheduling is always going to be an issue. That's just something universal. So I think that kind of may have hindered some things, but I think for the most part, we got it done at the end of the day. We got better with timing, management, just synchronizing our schedules, and having conversation. That's one thing, you guys, whatever you do, always time management is a big thing, because that can really affect how people perceive you.
Oh no, absolutely, 100%. I mean, again, these videos take time to work on, and they also take time to export, upload to YouTube. That takes time to process everything. So, that's why you see a lot of your favorite content creators who are maybe doing breakdowns. They do have early access to these shows and stuff like that. And I wish at that time we had that, but hopefully in the future is bright, I think. And hopefully that we could do something with that. But yeah.
Were there any, what's like your favorite thing doing into the channel? Like, what are some of the highlights that people don't know?
Sometimes it feels like Stockholm syndrome, but I love when he sends me fonts that are themed,
Aw.
especially wonderful, right? And it's as if you're hiring somebody from Fiverr. It's like really cool to see that, and they're themed for a movie or a show. And then I do love making backgrounds. It's just one of those times where it almost kind of sometimes feels like you could just drink a coffee and listen to something and just work on it, which I'll probably work on it for like 5 hours, depending on how many I'm working on. It's like a full-time job. So that's one of my favorite things. When it comes down to thumbnails, I like doing thumbnails too. Like I like all that stuff. I just love creating things. When it comes to the SEO shit, though, that's when it gets a little stressful because you're really trying to think of new and innovative ways to get your video out there, to push it to the mass audience, and different topics too. But of course, it's about talking about the actual thing. That's gonna always like top everything else, you know. Just actually and actually rushing to see something and then talking about it, and then, so that's always like a blast to see, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I always enjoy when we have like a high energy, when we have it, even if it could be like the most mundane movie or something. If we find a point that we can go off and bounce off each other,
right,
and have a really interesting discussion, even if it's like a fucking like an inside joke or something that no one will understand.
No one will ever understand
that's like a something like you guys might catch like in some of our videos when like we're like nodding each other. Also, yeah, just like the anticipation of like seeing videos, I think is really fun, because after all this hard work that you put into it, you know, you spend weeks planning it, designing stuff, making backgrounds, editing audio, and then, you know, sometimes I get really hyped. Like I'll stay up sometime just to see if Akram puts out a video, just because I want to see it. It's like, oh shit, it's like now it's out now. Yeah. So it's really cool. And then and also just like seeing how many videos you've done, I think that's a really cool thing, looking back at all. Like if you can have not just a playlist but multiple playlists, I think that really shows as a channel that you're very diverse, and you put a lot of stuff out, you know, and you're not just making things for the sake of making things, but you're also putting out quality, which I think is kind of lacking now in a lot of content creation now, because a lot of things are very mass produced.
Oh yeah,
and we're almost living in this like Fahrenheit 451-esque media world. That's now true. Where things are very artificial and very one note. But I think we managed to even make like, I always say, like, big things start with the details. Was that quote from David from Aliens?
Big things come in
small packages. I don't know.
What do you know? Post office?
I meant we never did a movie review for that. But yeah, like the details really, you know, are essential. And I think if you can make a 5-minute review really engaging and really sound very educational, I think you have succeeded as a channel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, you just need to talk about different things. It's easier to do these things though when you're with another person that's like okay with it too. But yeah, for the most part, how many? We have like 533 videos now, and we never hired somebody. And I feel like I'm going insane sometimes looking at all these videos, because these videos aren't just regular. They're like highly edited, and it's like really
and
complex.
The best quality too, you know.
Yeah, thank you. And everything comes together. Both of our, I hate when I say the word vocals. I just hate that word. It's like whipped cream for people. But yeah, like everything together, the assets, everything combines so well. And to do that for 500, it's like insane. But it's beautiful to look back on at the end of the day, and see the progression too. Truly see it, you know?
Absolutely. Well, my friend, we've looked back.
Yeah.
Let's look forward for the channel. I think you have some big news, and I prepared a playlist.
And now my time is near. Well,
why don't you give the people what they want?
Well, everybody, so there's been a discussion between Dylan and I that has lasted for over about 2 months. We really put a lot of thought to this, and we came up with a solution for what should come next. So unfortunately, my good friend here, Dylan, has to depart from the lunch table. He's going off to do his own things and hopefully make the world better. But you guys will still get videos from me. This channel will not be called The Lunch Table anymore. Rather, I'm your new friend, Smiley the Savior. And I hope to have a lot of fun with everybody. And trust me, there's going to be a lot of content coming forward in February. I'm going to focus more on video essays. I'm going to focus more on news discussions, reactions about whether it's politics, whether it's trending topics. I'm definitely going to cover it for you, have guests on. And of course, your boy, this ain't the last time you're going to see him. He will be making returns.
Again, Spider-Man.
We'll definitely be meeting again. You're going to see Dylan around. You're going to see him sometimes. Like, for example, we didn't finish Invincible Part 2, Season 2. We definitely got to finish that. We got to do The Last of Us Season 2. There's some vlogs in the way. So the channel is going to look different. The branding is going to be different. All in all, there won't be video backgrounds per se. Rather, it's going to be my style, Smiley the Savior. And hopefully the hope is in the future when things align. Again, I talked about multiple times, opportunity meets luck. Hopefully, the work is done and we could both start again or continue where we left off in another channel, YouTube channel. And that'll just be called The Lunch Table Podcast with new assets and stuff, a little redesign. So as I consider it, if you guys are fans of Fear the Walking Dead, when Morgan comes in, Alicia, all the rest kind of take a backseat, and Morgan is the main guy. So that's how it's going to be for now. But Alicia's still in the back, doing her things. And that's the same situation. So it's not going to really, it's not the end, actually. It's literally the beginning, because this channel ain't going anywhere and this friendship ain't going anywhere. It's hard to take that away. It's hard to take away the creativity and the heart that's put into these, as we talked about before. So trust me, you guys are going to be getting hit after hit, and I'm definitely going to be working as hard as I can to entertain everybody and give you guys different ways to think about things. And then also, I can't wait for you guys to see what we do when we collab together in the future as well.
It's so bittersweet, man.
It's bittersweet.
But,
it's bittersweet.
I think we did so much together, and it's crazy thing about, time passes in the blink of an eye, how much you've done, and especially with such an amazing co-host, an amazing friend. But yeah, so things for me just have changed. So I'm going to have to retire for a little bit, but like Akram said, this ain't the last you've seen of me. I'll probably make like cameos like Soldier Boy and Genevieve.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't wait to see Akram what you do, or sorry, Smiley.
Yeah.
So, let me get your pronouns right. I can't wait to see what you do with the channel. And now that you've inherited it, because I know I'm leaving it in good hands, because you're very passionate about what you do, and I know you'll push the channel even further than it has before. But yeah, I can't wait to see what you guys will see in the future, because it's a new year, it's a new channel.
That's right. And again, I can't thank you enough for really putting this idea in my head, and you really pushed me to be more expressive and more creative, and it really got me thinking and adapting, and only a good friend can do that. And again, you guys will see this motherfucker again in the future. Don't worry about that.
Your local Denny's, like
your local Denny's
serving you like pancakes,
or maybe somewhere in the Congo, depending on how things go. But you're definitely gonna see him around, trust me. But as you saw, some of the videos I've been posting are by myself from the past. That's why. It's because he's doing his own thing, and again, a lot of stuff's gonna be changing. But you best believe that the heart is still gonna be there. So, from the bottom of both of our hearts, we thank you so much. We love you. And we'll see you in February 2024. So stay with us. Trust me, it's worth it.
Thank you guys so much for sticking around. I can't wait to see, how this channel progresses. I'll be there, 100% of the way, supporting Akram and supporting you guys as well. I hope you'll support, Akram as well as this transition happens in the new year. But guys, thank you for checking us out, and for the longtime subscribers, we love you so much, and we hope you'll continue to stay with Smiley the Savior, because it's still the same content, just a different face, or not faces, but face. Yeah. It's non-binary anymore. But we love you guys, and if it's my final time to say it, thanks for having lunch with us, guys.
I'll see you guys.
That's all the time we have for today.
Okay.
So Thank you to all our listeners for our first episode.
Thank you for listening.
Glad to bring you all content. We'll definitely be talking more in the future about your favorite movies and shows. My name is Dylan, and I'm joined with Akram. So until next time. See you.
See you guys.